Hey guys, this is Atco. How you doing? Haven't talked to you guys for a few weeks, and beautiful day. Kind of cold outside. No, actually, it's supposed to be like 100 degrees here on the weekend. I live up in Maryland, and it's going to get pretty hot. So I thought, good time to work down in the basement. What I wanted to talk about, just got a couple of my vintage computers in the basement. Going to go into a little story of why I have those. I got married in 1981, and we moved in, and wife's got plenty of hobbies and that. And she's got friends that go stuff and do crafts. And for me, I have no problem just listening to some music, drinking a few beers at night, and I'm happy. Well, it didn't take too long for my wife to start thinking, you know, you can't just do this all day. You've got to find something to do, some kind of a hobby. I don't have any hobbies. I said, no, we'll get you something. Well, this was I guess it was the 82. By then we're moving into an apartment. And I guess the Commodore 64 had just come out. She came in a box one time, said, this is what I'm getting you. This is a hobby for you. A computer? I don't want a computer. Oh yeah, you'll enjoy it. Just go ahead and play with it. Okay, put it off to the side. And we kept that probably in another room for, I'll bet you it was 8, 9 months. I didn't do absolutely nothing with it. I just had no interest in computers. Of course, this was 1982. All of a sudden, one place I was work, one of my friends there, he said, do you got a computer? I said, no, I don't have any computer. He says, oh, you should. I've been enjoying mine. I really got it. I said, what do you have? He got an Apple II. I said, well, what do you do with it? And I said, oh, come on to the house one day and I'll show you. And he's got all kind of stuff he does with Apple II. I said, man, you could do that from a little home computer like that? Oh, yeah. So I got home and I opened up the boxes and started looking at this stuff. And had a few books and started getting some books. And before I know, I was caught. I just, all of a sudden, all I could think about is that darn computer. And I started seeing what I could do with that stuff. One of the things, if nothing else, I was a manager for doing some technician stuff. And when I used to have to do my reports, I didn't have a, back then they had a lot of secretaries that would write up your reports and things. You'd write it down and they would fix it for you, and you'd get it back and you'd look at it again and send it back. And she wasn't only my secretary, there were 4 or 5 other managers. So it'd take you long to get your report done. And he started saying, hey, you could do your reports at night with that thing. So I started getting a program in there that would do all your letters and things like that. I was the only one that was getting all my reports done. Other people were still in line to have the secretary to fill these things out. And people would say, where are you getting yours? Who's doing that for you? I said, do that on my own, on my Commodore. I said, you did that in a Commodore? Yeah. And then from there on, I started getting everything with the spreadsheets and games, and oh man, I got into that. And then I was into it really deep. I got into it good, and I got friends into my Commodores and all that stuff, and I had a lot of fun with them. So I got one here, of course. It remains, that's so that I can remember all the stuff I did with that thing. I had to have that. Now, I also have a IBM, the regular PC. Back then, back probably what was then 83, 84, all of a sudden we started getting them at work, and you could get one that you could use at the office, and all of a sudden the secretaries started getting dropped off off their jobs. And I had one there too that I could use, and so I had to have one of those too, and spent a lot of time with that. So I've got to have one of those in my room in the basement. But why did I have more of those? Now, when I was a kid back in the 60s, I used to go to see my dad, and my dad was like a salesman, and one of the places they used to work with, they had a repair guy there, and they got to be very, very good friends. And I used to go to his house to see the guy. I liked the guy. He was so funny. And he said to me one time, "Why don't you come down my basement? I got something to show you." Now this was in the 60s. And I go down in the basement, and he's got all of these old TVs from the early 50s. And he had them all around the room. And he can repair those things. And he was showing them. It's like a little museum. And I said, "Man, where'd you get all those from?" He said, "All those went obsolete when I was fixing those things. And most of them I got for free. And I just got them for nothing and started making them. And then one day that's probably going to be a little museum." And I thought that was really cool, because this was already in the 60s. It almost looked like a little museum. Well, we left from where I was at the point. We moved to a different state, so I never saw much of that guy. But all of a sudden, I go to Hamfest, because my career has really been in electronics. And I used to go to these Hamfest radios, go to the shows, and buy old electronics and, 8-tracks and all that cool stuff. And back in the 90s, when I started going to those, I saw that a lot of people had the old computers from the early 80s that are all obsolete, and they were getting them. I mean, people had plenty of them because there were so many, Ataris, definitely Commodores, and you're getting them either for free or $50 is the most you'd pay for one, and you'd get monitors, everything with them for that price. And I thought, man, I could do the same thing of what Al used to do with old TVs. And I started picking those things up. And it took time, because in the 2000s, you couldn't get any anymore. And the few that were there, they were collectible. But I had, in the basement here, I had just about everything. If you go deep into my my channel back then, and I don't know, 10 years ago or so, you go back in there, I probably did a couple of videos of my museum. But I had quite a few Commodores, I had the Ataris, I had Osborne's, the Texas Instrument, all of them. I had them all. I had them all around the dining room, and not dining room, in the basement. And I took them a couple times. I went to a school and have them in kind of a place to display them for maybe a couple of weeks, and people would look to them, and I enjoyed listening to the people talking, kids trying to understand why in the world do you have those old machines, but try to explain the history to them and all that kind of stuff. I had a lot of fun with them. After a while, though, they all just sit around in my basement. I wasn't doing anything with them. And as I started getting rid of some of them, I realized that some were going bad, just sitting there, caps and stuff going bad. I said, it's time to get rid of these things. And I started getting rid of them. I guess I started about 3 years ago. And I was selling them. I would imagine on the average, I got maybe $150 a piece for each one of them. And I probably sold maybe 15 over the last 3 or 4 years. And when I was done, do I want to keep any of them? Well, of course, it got to the point where there's 2 I have to keep. And one was the Commodore 64. Don't use it much, but if I do nothing but look at it, it remembers me how much fun I had with that thing. And I got boxes of all the programs in them, the manuals, got a backup for the disk drives and all that stuff. Of course, I can never play with them. And then also I have one IBM PC left. That was one of the last ones I had ever bought. That was still probably 15 years ago. I got that at a Hamfest for $50, and it had the color monitor, a 10 meg hard drive, everything, $50. And that thing right now, I've even got an IBM printer to go with it. That I could probably sell even on a Hamfest for $400 or $500. If I'd sell it on eBay, I'd probably get $1,000 for it. But that one I just want to have here. I just remember that. So those are one of the things I've got that I just enjoy. Whether I use it much, sometimes I do. I make sure everything's still working in there. And I can go in there for a little bit and show it to somebody. Once in a while you get somebody that's, 15 years old, something like that, never got into any of the old stuff, and they're interested in the history. Doesn't happen too often, but when he does, I like explaining everything to these people and show them what they got. So that's what I do, and that's, I guess right now it's a little bit of a hobby for me now. Still like my music. Don't hit the beers like I used to, but that's my life. So anyways, I just thought I'd pass that stuff along. Say hi to you guys. Again, this is Atco, signing off.